Hello, everyone, and welcome to UGASports Rumors versus Facts. I am Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May and Trent Smallwood as we're here once again live on the UGA Sports YouTube channel to discuss all things Georgia Bulldog football recruiting. Trent, Jed, how's everything going this evening?
Good. Braves just choked away a 3-0 lead, so that's cool. But other than that, doing good.
Oh, yeah. We got the commercial break over here on the other side, but trying to see what's going on. But Trent, you just were at baseball or something. You got the, what is that? The Lookouts hat you got on?
No,
old Reds hat.
Old Reds.
It's old Reds, man.
I got you. Old Reds.
No, I just Georgia having a hot July, and coming here to talk a little bit about it. And then upcoming week, some names coming on campus.
No doubt, and some movement, like you said, in the month of July. Georgia is now up to 6 commits, could be 7 very soon in the class of 2023. In the month of July alone, Georgia has vaulted up from, I think they were as low as 16 at one time in the rankings in late June, and they're up to number 4 now in the Rivals team rankings. So definitely more of the same, it seems like, for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. Trent, this is a reoccurring theme. It seems like the vault, and everybody gets up in a stir a little bit about Georgia recruiting. And admittedly, there's been some misses along the way with Archman and Justice Haynes, but then 5, really high caliber defensive targets commit. And then, of course, in my opinion, underrated offensive lineman Kelton Smith joins the fold as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to come to the vault anytime, between April and June, you're probably going to see this class sucks and all that stuff. But, you got to think Kirby's still in charge. They're going to have some misses. They have some misses every year. Missing on Haynes is big, but Kirby's always got an answer to this, and they're right back in the top 5. And I would be very surprised if they exit that top 5.
Jed, I would like the perspective of a national analyst on Georgia's class at this point in
time. Yeah, I think when you look at it now, you've got 2 guys. You mentioned KJ Smith as a guy that's underrated. I think CJ Allen could fall in that too, and I don't believe either one of those guys is in the 250, but I mean, very, very well could be, and I would argue should be by the time this thing closes out. So that's only going to help Georgia in the team rankings and with the points and all that other stuff that my friends that get paid more than I do figure out. But yeah, there's still guys. Blaine, you mentioned another commit could be coming soon. We don't have a date or anything, but Yazid Haynes is a guy that Georgia's been in on. He decommitted from Penn State about an hour and a half ago as we're taping this. So that's another guy. Georgia looks to add speed to that receiver class every year, and they're going after Anthony Evans pretty hard. But Yazid Haynes is a guy that fits that mold as well. Just electric speed at the receiver position.
Yeah, it seems like that is just the common theme. Kirby Smart has said it many times, and now Brian McClendon seems to be falling right in line with that. Is pack as much speed as you can get into the receiver room. And you see Georgia's done that in the past with Arian Smith. They've done that with CJ Smith, 2 track guys that they'll be running track at Georgia as well. They're recruiting Anthony Evans. And if they do end up getting Yazid Haynes in what would be another flip from Penn State, that's another guy who, he recorded a 4.39 40 at the Penn State camp up there. And I mean, it's just a lot of speed that could potentially in the next few years, be making its way currently and in the next few years in the future, Trent, into that Georgia wide receiver room.
Yeah, and I think that's an aspect that I think that is the revolving offense that Kirby is trying to move into. You saw it a little bit last year. I mean, they were one of the top teams in the country in explosive plays. Some of them came from Brock Bowers, of course, but they're trying to get playmakers at wide receiver, and you might not, always land that 5-star wide receiver or that, Rivals 100 wide receiver, but they're guaranteeing one thing: they're going after speed. And it's if you hit on 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 of your guys in the class, and you got a class full of speed, it's going to work out pretty good in the long term.
Absolutely. So Georgia definitely looking to be dynamic in that wide receiver room. They've, people like to, I guess, gloss over the fact that while Georgia, Lad McConkey and AD Mitchell weren't 5-star guys, man, they certainly were productive in their freshman year. And when you combine just those two alone with a healthy Kyrus Jackson, and then also like everybody knows the story at the tight ends, Georgia's passing game this year could be quite explosive.
Yeah, I think there's two sides of this. I think you can acknowledge one that Georgia hasn't necessarily hit on some of the, like you said, Trent, the Rivals 100 guys it's gone after in the past couple of years, while also acknowledging that Lad McConkey, AD Mitchell, Brock Bowers, like those guys are incredible evals. Nobody knew that, especially when you look at what McConkey and Mitchell did last year, nobody knew that those guys were going to do what they did. So there's two sides to it. Would Georgia like more of the, like Hakeem Williams, this class is a perfect example. Would Georgia love to land a, I think he's number 2 or 3 receiver in the country, 5-star kid? Sure. But if they miss on him, but end up landing a Yazid Haynes and Anthony Evans, lower rated guys who work out just as good, then that's all that's really going to matter to this coaching staff in the end.
Trent, you have something to add to that?
No, I just think that with the way Georgia's offense is and the way they like to utilize people, I just think that playmakers is the most important thing. And there's nothing better. There's no one better than, you got Brian McClendon there, who's evaluating the talent. And then you got Todd Munkin, who's a wide receiver guru as well, who is the one that found Lad McConkey out of nowhere. So you got two very good set of eyes on these guys, and evaluating these guys, I say. And so if Georgia's going after them, there's a good reason why.
No doubt, absolutely. And things are picking up for the University of Georgia. We're going to be touching on some vault questions here in just a little bit, but we want to say hello to the people in the YouTube chat. Fred F. says if AD Mitchell was at Ohio State, he'd be considered a top 15 pick. Hey, perception becomes reality at certain times, that's for sure. Brett Weimer's in here with us. He said we need K. Milt and K. Mack to come back for senior year. I don't see that happening, but hey, we appreciate you being in here, Brett. We got Antoine Sampson. I feel very comfortable with our wide receiver room for 2022. So Georgia fans out there seem to be pretty comfortable. See some other people in here, Jay Shipes. So we got Harry Legg in here. So all of these guys, we appreciate you being in. Dylan Stroud is in. He says, bring me Hakeem Williams. That's certainly a goal of Georgia as they're pursuing the 5-star heavily. So, like I said, it's been a just hot start in the month of July. A lot of defensive targets. People, like I said before, there have been some misses. It looks like Georgia's probably going to miss on Caleb Downs as well. But Trent, what better way to maybe subsidize that by going out and bringing in a guy like Jonell Aguero?
Yeah, Jonell comes in. He's another top tier defensive back that Kirby's brought in, and these last two classes have been just unreal at the defensive back position. But Jonell was a long time Georgia lean, and there was a lot of talk with Florida and the Miamis, the last couple months, but Georgia was able to secure that one, and I think relationships played a big part there. But he's a big hitter. Kind of reminds you of a smaller Lewis Seen, and I saw that comparison with I guess he was referring to it.
And hey, they're from right down the road from each other, Jed. Seen was a Massachusetts guy before he moved to Texas for his senior year, I believe, and so they're right from down the road from each other.
Yeah, between him and Troy Bowles, those two guys will hurt you.
Absolutely. Jed, it looked for a little while like Miami was trying to make a run at Aguero right there, but I really think the first of all, there was changes throughout the recruitment at the DB coaching positions, because Georgia was on him very early on, even before they offered him, we're on him a little bit. And they offered him way back in like February of 2021. But on top of that, Kirby Smart was the consistent all the way throughout, being a safety himself, having played at the University of Georgia. I feel like that's always kind of going to be a ace in the hole for Georgia there when it comes to recruiting safeties. And I know people are going to point to, well, what happened with Caleb Downs? Well, there's extenuating circumstances there, I feel like.
Yeah, and well, you mentioned Kirby Smart. You got Will Muschamp right next to him, right? And
yeah,
especially when you pair that with Fran Brown. I think Miami, he made comments. I don't know if it was to our guy Ryan Wright or whoever, but he said basically Jamil Adai going to Miami was a big thing for him that helped get them involved. But we talk about it a lot that this is about relationships and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like sometimes now that kind of gets lost in the NIL game. And there are those cases where an NIL deal gets dropped on a kid's doorstep or whatever. But I think even with the NIL, I think a lot of times the relationships are going to win out. And I think that's what happened with Aguero. Kirby's been there. Muschamp has been there at Georgia for most of his recruitment. And I think ultimately, despite the hard charges from Miami and Florida, those relationships are, what ended up winning out.
Absolutely. And the other one from a week ago, you were there live, Jed, was Jamal Jarrett. And Jamal is a guy who at 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", pushing 350 pounds at different times, depending on what he ate for breakfast that morning, is a guy that, the storyline seems familiar, really talented athlete that can blot out the sun and is from North Carolina. Where's Georgia heard that before, right? I mean, and it seems like there's a big connection, in that recruitment with Jordan Davis, who was there saw Jared on unofficials, on officials. Seems like history is repeating itself in Athens getting Jamal Jarrett.
Yeah, and when I spoke with Jamal, and this is something that I hadn't really known until I spoke with him for an interview leading up to his commitment, even going back to when he was at his previous high school, he was still playing offensive line, defensive line. Trey Scott started recruiting him even then and was like, look, I can turn you into the next Jordan Davis. And at the time, Jamal didn't really know who Jordan Davis was. He didn't know if he was going to be an offensive lineman or defensive lineman in high school or at the next level, in college. But Trey Scott has been pushing that message for, a year and a half now at this point. So it's an easy comparison to make, just like you said, with the obvious facts. But I also think it's there. He's a raw guy. He's huge. And, every school, when these kids go to these schools, they compare you to guys. But the Jordan Davis comparison for Jamal when he was in Athens it's too perfect. There's a reason that they brought Jordan in to talk to him on his official visit, is because and I think Jordan even told Jamal this. No one, we have the same role. We're from North Carolina. We're both mama's boys. I think Jamal said Jordan told him, and that's what Jordan told him. Is, you come here, you do what you got to do. You can end up better than me. And Jordan ended up being I think the 13th pick in the draft. So better than Jordan Davis. It turned out pretty good for Jamal one day, I think.
That would be when Georgia. I guess way over 18 months ago, I guess when Georgia first kind of started getting interested in Jamal Jarrett, or we first started hearing rumblings of it, I started evaluating, film, looking at it. And I called up Coach Donnan and I was like, hey, Coach Donnan, how do you really go about evaluating some of these bigger guys and stuff like that for athleticism? He goes, watch them fall. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, well, when they fall, can they get back up without having to put their hand in the ground and help themselves up like they're a super, sumo, or can they just pop up off the ground? And, there's something to that, because Jamal, he goes and he strikes somebody, maybe he got tripped up or something. He popped right back off the ground and was able to pursue. So I think Coach Donnan knew early on that this was going to be an athletic guy that Georgia would pursue. And that's big, defeating somebody in the state of North Carolina for a defensive lineman, because you saw, Trent, what happened with Travis Shaw last year. North Carolina, even though they've struggled at times as a program, they're still pretty strong under Mac Brown recruiting wise there.
Yeah, and they're going to be strong, especially in state, and that's why this relationship with Trey Scott, kind of hit home from way back. And I remember back in Jordan Davis's recruitment, there's a lot of talk about him playing offensive tackle and at the next level. He was a lot of people don't think 6'6", you can't line up a defensive tackle, you can't bend and stuff like that. But he's this is like you said, Jay, this is a perfect comp. I mean, that they're basically the same size, the same build. Jordan Davis came in with he was big then, but he also had some some working out to do, some filling out to do, and Jared will come in and he'll do the same thing. But just two big boys, and you're gonna hear Jarrett's name a lot in the next 3 years.
Yeah, Rhett Womack says Smith. He's talking about James Smith and Jamal Jarrett would be a haul. That's for sure. I mean, in more ways than one, that's a lot of beef coming in there. They might need an actual cattle trailer to ride those guys around. That's two big human beings.
There's nothing really you can critique on the defensive side of recruiting. I think all the critiquing can come from the offensive side of the recruiting, but defensive side of the ball is just refilling.
At every level, like that's the crazy thing is like, okay, inside linebacker, 3 studs, defensive back is shaping up. You got the edge guys that Georgia's already pulled in, and they're looking good for guys like Sam and Pimba and stuff. You got defensive line with Jamal, and there's James Smith and Jordan Hall. Like every level, every position now on the defense is just there's studs everywhere at every position group in this class. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, it's time of the part of our show to get to the vault questions. And I'm going to give a disclaimer out here, okay? We like to do a little something in this show where people have kind of caught on to asking some questions about something near to my heart, professional wrestling, okay? It's just meant to have a little fun with. So all you people that like to not have any joy in life, okay, you can just look somewhere else for those 10 seconds or something, okay? But we're gonna throw those in there too. We got lots of people throwing those in, so we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Do us a favor, subscribe, turn on notifications. The UGA Sports YouTube channel has grown to be the biggest YouTube channel that covers Georgia out there. So we appreciate that. It's because of you guys. So make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications so you know every time we're live, every time Coach Don and Roddy and Dane are live, Paul and Ben on Sundays, all these guys that put content out, and we greatly appreciate it. All right. So with that being said, Jed, go ahead and hit our first one there. We got Sammy D.
Sammy D, how many current 5 stars will we sign in December? And then Charlotte Dog adds on and says, how many 5 stars will we end up with at February signing day after the bumps of current high school players?
Yeah, I put those two together and then What's Up Dog on the vault also was, I mean, he was just all over it with the 5 stars. These people are 5-star hungry, Trent. They want to know how many 5 stars is Georgia going to end up with in this class. So I don't know that we can give a definitive answer. I mean, if you want to, turn into some kind of psychic here and look into the future, let us know. How many are we getting, Trent?
It's so hard at this point because what is Rival sitting with, Jed? 16 5 stars right now, or 25 stars?
Yeah, I don't think it's 20 yet.
But they always end up with the 32 5 stars, just like the first round of the NFL. And so you're there's a lot of people that can move into that 5-star status. If you're looking at, I mean, I think it's going to come from the defensive side of the ball. If it does, they might could slip in
maybe a Samuel and Pimba would be one to keep your eye on for sure.
Yep, I would say at the end of the day, maybe 3 5 stars. But it's just going to be a lot of to do with the ranking and who they pull, because a lot of people are going to make jumps. We talked about CJ Allen. I'm not saying he's going to jump to 5-star, but he should make a jump before the end of the ranking. So there's a lot of guys that's going to make jumps. There's a lot of guys that's close to that 5-star status right now, and there's some guys that are going to fall. But I think it just depends on where Jed ranks them.
Yeah, that's a big caveat to this. Okay, we did an over-under, I think, a question a few weeks back of people saying over-under, how many, 3.5 was the over-under, how many 5 stars Georgia lands in the class 2023. I took the under, but it's not necessarily meaning that Georgia's still not going to have an elite class because, like you said, I think some of the 3 stars, a couple of the 3 stars, the Kelton Smiths, the CJ Allen, maybe even if Chris Peel ends up in this class, I think all of those guys could end up by the end being 4 stars. And I think with Georgia already having 17 commits, looking like it's soon to be 18 commits in the class of 2023 and sitting comfortably at number 4, they're going to be pushing, especially if they just win a couple of these 50-50s, pushing for a number 1 class. I mean, it's going to be strong.
I've got the rankings here, the rankings that I put together personally myself. For anyone who doesn't know, I and I alone are responsible for rankings. So make sure prospects and especially their parents know that. So let's play maximum.
His email and his phone number will be linked.
At the ball. 706-427-5983.
Okay, so Samuel and Pimp. Let's play maximum Georgia could get. Samuel and Pimp was a 5-star. I'd say Georgia gets him. I don't think they end up with Shanahan. I don't think they get Okunlola. Hakeem Williams is a 5-star. Say Georgia gets him. Let's see. There was AJ Harris is a 4-star right now. He's 27 in the country. So say he holds there, that could easily end up a 5-star. That's 3. And then right outside of current 5-star, like Richard Young right now is a high 4-star. Kelby Collins is at 40. That's a guy that could move up. You got Jamal Jarrett's at 50. He could shoot. That's the thing is, like, I think the last rankings come out after the All-American Bowl. Because remember, last year, that's what helped Julian Humphrey get bumped up to 5-star status, was a huge performance at the Army Bowl or whatever. So,
Jed, are you prepared for the vitriol when you alone decide to bump Justice Haynes up to a 5-star, and then if he flips to Georgia in December, move him back down to a 4-star? Is that? Are you prepared for that?
The new rankings are coming out, so we've already had those. It's not even really a meeting because it kind of goes without saying that guys get bumped when they commit to Bama. So, but yeah, that's all taken care of. Don't worry.
Awesome stuff. All right, a little inside baseball there. Okay, so let's go to OU Herschel Walker. I'll handle this one because, like I said, it's got a little wrestling love at the end of it there. He says probability, and we'll do probabilities on each of these after I address the wrestling question. Ruben Owens flip, Justice Haynes flip, Richard Young commits to Georgia, Jamarian Wilcox being the only running back that Georgia signs. And then he wants to know 4 horsemen better with the originals, Flair, Blanchard, Ole, and Arn, or with Lex, Sting, and Wyndham. It is not even close. The original 4 horsemen, Ole Anderson, Arn Anderson. I mean, they could play, defensive tackle, linebacker, any day. Okay, tough as nails. So those are the guys right there. But appreciate that, OU Herschel Walker. But guys, let's go through this probability of Ruben Owens flip or Justice Haynes flip. Go ahead and touch on those first. What do you guys think?
4 horsemen, man. That was a great backfield back in the day. I think the probability of Ruben Owens flipping is pretty decently high. Now, do I think the probability of him flipping to Georgia is high? Not especially. I think if he flips, it's probably going to be to one of those Texas programs. I don't see Justice flipping personally. Richard Young committing. 100% Richard Young is going to commit somewhere. I think it's between Georgia and Alabama. I think it might have been last week we talked about this playing. I think the longer it goes with Richard Young, the more it helps Georgia because it seemed like Alabama was the clear favorite there. He was ready to pull the trigger. And then, it's been, a little over a week now since Justice Haynes committed. So the more time Georgia has to get in there and stay in his ear, maybe get him on campus, depending on what his timeline is. So I don't know. I would say just maybe 60-40 Alabama now for Richard Young, maybe. I don't know. And then I think Jamarian Wilcox, I don't think he'll be the only running back Georgia signs. I think Georgia's in a decent spot with him. Obviously they haven't offered, but
that's what I'm saying. I don't think we can even talk about that until they send an offer. But,
I think they probably end up with 2 running backs unless the pool of guys they want is just totally exhausted. But even then, I would think they probably end up maybe looking in the portal for a guy. Although I don't know if that would count as part of this question or not. But
Trent, Trent, what do you think of in terms of the flip percentage for Owens or Haynes?
Yeah, like Jed said, I don't see Ruben Owens sticking with Louisville. At the same time, Georgia and Texas felt good about him at one time, and
Depends on what that NIL package. Because let me tell you something, he ain't going to Louisville for free. Okay, I mean it's just how it's going. I'm not saying it illegally. I'm saying legally. The Louisville, boosters and collective, all that kind of stuff, have obviously put together a package, an offer that Owens couldn't refuse. To reference The Godfather. So.
Yeah, and I mean this is the way it's going to be. But with Reuben Owens, I think I don't see. There's a possibility, Georgia could flip him, because I'm not going to say Georgia's not going to go pursue him, and what can change in the next 3 or 4 months. Georgia at one time was very high on his list. I thought Georgia was standing out in that recruitment, but at this time, I would say it's lower for Reuben. Justice Haynes, again, we felt it was Georgia all the way up into the announcement on that Sunday, and then all of a sudden it changed to Alabama. And so
we're finding out more and more each day that we weren't the only ones. There were lots of people that thought it was Georgia.
It was definitely a surprise there, but again, never say never. He's a Georgia, with his dad being a Georgia alum and playing at Georgia. But right now, I would say fresh off his commitment to Alabama, yes, it could happen, but the chances are slim of that happening. Now, I do think that increased the chances for Richard Young with Justice Haynes going to Alabama, because I just in the
I think it's increased, but it's still. I wouldn't put Georgia as the
I wouldn't
lead.
put Georgia as the leader, but it definitely went from probably, like Jed said, 60-40 Alabama, but it probably was about 90-10 or 80-20 or close to ending. So
yeah, I got you for sure. Yeah, I think Alabama's trying to sell. There's a shift going on in Alabama football right now, and I think you'll see that play out on the field this year. Yes, they have the returning Heisman Trophy winner and Bryce Young, and they're still going to sling it around the yard. But I think I don't think Nick Saban liked at times last year having other team physically impose their will on them because of Alabama's inability to run the football, and at times put their defense on the field too long because sometimes they couldn't sustain drives. They were more of a quick strike offense, and there was times when they did struggle was because they couldn't run the football. I think you're going to see Alabama try to return to running the football more because I think that's what Georgia has kind of turned the tables on them with, of being a little bit more physical than Alabama. So I think when Saban knows he's been outdone with something, he tries to correct it. So I think that would be what they're trying to sell Young and Haynes on, in terms of being a 1-2 punch there in Tuscaloosa.
And I know they got some transfers with Jermaine Burton and other guys that went there, but you don't have those two wide receivers, or those wide receivers that they had in the past. As you noticed in the national championship, they didn't have those guys stepping up at that point. And yes, I do believe they have talented wide receivers there, but I do not believe they have the two wide receivers that they had last year with Mechie.
Or the four that they had, several years ago that are just, legendary. I mean, it's hard to keep that up.
The offense coordinator looks like a genius when that stuff's going on, but I mean, those guys are just unreal. I mean, those wide receivers that when they had Judy and Devonta Smith and all them, that just makes it very easy on a quarterback. Makes it very easy on offense coordinator. Hey, run a deep post and quarterback throw it as far as you can. I mean, I just don't think they have those guys this year. And I think Jermaine Burton is a very good wide receiver. And I think they have some very good wide receivers, but they don't have the elite talent that they've had in the past.
Absolutely. All right, Jed, we got one from Big Fatty 94 here.
I'm going to leave that username alone. How many flips would you be confident in saying is going to happen by the time signing day rolls around for the Dogs?
All right, so
flipping
you got
away or flipping two?
I think they're talking about flipping two.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Speaking of breaking news, we have a long snapper commitment that just happened.
Oh, snap.
Oh, hey, good one, Trent.
To Georgia?
Yeah, Will Snelling's out of Whitewater High School. Hey, look at you guys getting some breaking news on the rumors versus facts. It's
nothing better.
Committed.
It's probably a PWO, but yes.
Oh, yeah, probably, but
Yeah, I
still
feel like
cool,
that would be the case there. Typically, at least early on, many specialists aren't utilized. Scholarships aren't utilized on specialists a lot of the times. So I can imagine that would be the case. But anyways, let's get back to the question here from. He said, how many flips would you be confident in saying is going to happen by the time sign day rolls around for the Dogs? So I think they're talking about flips to Georgia. And in that scenario, with Joshua Miller is already one that's taken place from Penn State. Raymond Cottrell is another one that has taken place. He was committed to Florida at one point. I'm trying to think if anybody else in the Raylan Wilson was another flip. That's three right there alone in this class that have already occurred. I think they're in good shape to complete the flip with Yazid Haynes, the wide receiver that was for Penn State. That would be 4. I think you could see him get up to 5 or 6 by the time the class is over with. And Trent and Jed, one reason I think that is because of how some of this offensive line recruiting is playing out, that they're going to have to go out and put some pressure on some guys late and try to get some flips.
Yeah, and the same could be said for, for running back as well. If they feel late in the cycle that they
True.
don't have any uncommitted guys that they really like, then they could end up going out and trying to flip somebody from somewhere else. But yeah, they're already at 3. Yazid Haynes would make it 4. Yeah, I think 5 or 6 is very, very realistic. Last year, think of how many. And there seems like there was so many at the end, because you had Jaheim Singletary ended up kind of late, and there was a ton. It seemed like more than 5 or 6 last year, but yeah, I think we'll say 6, just because I think
there'll be at least 4 more with the shenanigans that goes on signing day.
Right, because like you said, Blaine, with how some of the offensive line. Oh, Rhett was committed to. No, that's a good call from Rhett Womack. So that's. Did you mention Rhett, Justin Rhett, Blaine?
Yeah, Justin Rhett from Notre Dame for sure. So, that was another one too. So there's already been a lot of flips. I wouldn't be surprised to see 2, 3 more for sure.
A few of them were silently committed to Florida, and they flipped to Georgia. So,
oh, that's great fodder there for the Vault. I love that. Trent knows how to play to the crowd. That's for sure. I heard somebody was committed to Georgia Tech at one point, and they just said, I'll piss on that, and came on over to the dog. That's how it goes. All right. Night Dog says, are the Dogs fading for Quay Russaw? No, they're not. I can answer that one pretty simply. And then, what edge rushers do we, Georgia, sign as of today? Okay, so Georgia it's pretty much wide open on the edge. They're going after Damon Wilson. They're going after Samuel Mpemba. They're going after Quay Russaw. They've got their inside linebackers taken care of. Those are the guys that they're really going after. Kelby Collins is a guy who could somewhat fit that role, but is a bigger guy and could also slide down inside as well. Trent, Jed, go ahead and give your thoughts on what you think this edge class could end up looking like for Georgia. Oh, they got Gabriel Harris already committed too as well. Yes.
Yeah, Gabriel Harris is a good-looking guy. I think they look good with Mpemba. It seems like every time, and Blaine, you've actually talked with him, but just seeing what he says about Georgia and everything like that, it seems like Georgia just continues to ascend for him. I think Kelby Collins, it's one of those things where, is he an edge? Is he a defensive end? I think he would be more of a Trayvon Walker type. And then, but yeah, Russaw is kind of the opposite. Remember, he was being recruited at inside. Now he's being recruited as outside. So, I'm trying to think. There's,
I feel like they'll get at least 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
I feel like at least 2 of those guys will come.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The two guys you mentioned, you mentioned several, but Quay Russaw and mine goes blank. Who else you mentioned? Mpemba.
Mpemba, yeah, and then you got.
I think those are 2 guys that I could really see in this class, and you got a couple other guys that Georgia's recruiting at the edge, but those are 2 guys that I think Georgia sits well at this point.
They're really hard pursuing Damon Wilson as well, out of Venice, Florida. a guy that has Georgia, I think, in his top 4, Jed, if I'm not mistaken. It's Georgia and Texas are 2 of the biggest ones there. I'm telling you, with Quay Russaw, I don't think you got to worry about Georgia fading for Quay Russaw. I think when it comes to Georgia, there's a tremendous relationship there between Russaw, his family, and UGA. But there's also one there with Auburn as well. Yes, Auburn, and they're going to give these guys are not. They're adamant. Him and James Smith are adamant that they're we say it all the time. You got to take the package deal stuff, with a grain of salt. But him and James are adamant that they want to play together at the next level. They train together, all that good stuff. And 2, Quay, they want to see, they have a great relationship with Auburn. They want to see what Auburn puts on the field since they're not deciding until December. Alabama is heavily in it. Ohio State, Texas are trying to get both Quay Russaw and James Smith out for visits. If they do not get out for visits, then I think it sticks with, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia as the 3. And then Florida, I believe they're going to Florida for the Florida Friday Night Lights deal this weekend. So Florida's trying to make their way into it as well. And they have visited there before. But other than that,
if they silently commit, Georgia could just flip another one. So
yeah, Jed. You had yourself muted there for a second. I was just gonna let you know that. So yeah, that's kind of what it looks like on the edge there, Night Dog. All right, so Jed, we got one from Dawgs here.
Yeah, it says, do the Dogs close strong at receiver and offensive line, or will they be trying to address those positions better next year?
They feel good right now with who they have on the campus right now. Is that what he's talking about?
No, it said do they close strong?
No, close
do
strong.
Do you think they end up closing strong in the class of 2023, or do you think they look more towards the portal or go heavy on the class of 2024 for those positions?
I always say that they're gonna try to improve on the next class, but that's just the way his mentality is. I think he's going to try to land the best guys in this class, and I don't think he's going to accept being short of that. And they have missed on some guys on the offensive side of the ball, and I think, but he's going to go after the top tier players every single year. So I don't think that's going to change. Yeah, he's going to try to address those positions next year. Whether he does or not, that's the question, because I think he tried to address the offensive line this year of the class last year. Had Ernest Green, but it wasn't necessarily a class that blew you out of the water on the offensive line, or what Georgia's accustomed to with Sam Pittman being there. Georgia's going to try to sign the best players, but I think they're getting some very underrated players so far in this class, especially this last pickup.
Yeah, I think wide receiver, people ultimately, when all is said and done, Georgia's going to have a really good wide receiver class in the class of 2023 when all is said and done. And I think it'll look even better when you look back a few years from now than it does initially.
In terms of that same thing was said when A.D. Mitchell was coming in, that wide receiver classes. We try to address that next year, and then you have the 2 freshmen come in and play out of this world last year. So it's all about your evaluations and who you feel can come in and play the position. And McClendon and that bunch and Munkin, they feel good about the guys they're bringing in. I know.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes down to it, offensive line, though, could be offensive line and running back could be 2 positions that, and even quarterback for that matter, is that Georgia feels pretty confident in the depth that they have in the room now. So they're not going to reach or freak out on the class of 2023, and they could utilize the portal in the offseason for those positions, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. We just saw Alabama do it, right? If Georgia lands a Jahmyr Gibbs type in terms of a guy with experience and talent in the portal next year, and you sign a Jamarian Wilcox in this 23 class to go with it, then that is kind of turns out just as good as signing 2 guys in this class. You look ahead at 24, Georgia's one of the front runners for a lot of those guys in the 24 class too. So we'll see. We kind of, you remember few months ago, guys, we were telling everybody wait till after spring practice till all the portal editions started hitting Athens, and that hadn't really happened. So we'll see. I mean, Kirby Smart is going to use the portal. He's not going to throw scholarships at it just to do it. He's going to use it at positions that he thinks needed, and we'll see if he deems that if he deems that running back and offensive line are two of those spots where he needs to add a guy.
Will Jahmyr Gibbs be the best running back in the SEC?
I mean, he's gonna be really good, but there's some. It depends on what your definition of best is. You got Tank Bigsby there. You got Zach Evans that I think is gonna be really good. That's a name that gives people PTSD around here, but yeah, for sure. I think he's gonna be one of them.
Yeah, he's gonna be really good. I think out of the backfield, like he's gonna be dangerous, and then like with Bryce Young on checkdowns and stuff, and out of the backfield, it's gonna be huge for them.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I think he's going to be really good. But when you talk about that, Trent, there's going to be some guys around the country that portal pool is going to be pretty strong to pick from. After some guys that maybe don't get as many carries as they thought they were going to get and stuff like that. So you never know who's going to pop into that portal, and Georgia might take advantage of it.
I think Tank is a guy that's going to be the best running back in the SEC stat wise, because they're going to give it to him 25, 30 times a game. I think Gibbs will still be a guy who splits carries just like Georgia does.
And then you got Chris Rodriguez up at Kentucky. I know he's gotten a little legal trouble and stuff like that, but that guy is a guy who I never dreamed would come back this year for Kentucky, and he's been around. I mean, he's like the second coming of Benny Snell up there for those guys, maybe even a little bit better. So there's lots of good running back talent. I think Kenny McIntosh is going to be unreal for Georgia. I think he's going to have a huge year. I really do.
Julian Rochester as well.
Julian Rochester, about time for sure. All right. We already did. Nope, we didn't do this one. A second part by G-Dawgs. He said, Miami seems to be in line for that UGA pit boss kind of class on offensive line. Does UGA find a way to rekindle that type of success at OL? Well, Trent just talked about it. I just talked about it a little bit. I think when it comes to it, what you're seeing right now is some negative recruiting on Georgia in terms of the depth that they have, Jed, at offensive line. And then also, I just think that, it's a cyclical type thing, the in-state talent, all that kind of stuff. 2024, I think, lines up a lot better for Georgia at OL. Also, Stacey Searles kind of came in mid-cycle, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for some of these guys because it's a coaching switch, like you mentioned with Stacey Searles. But you looked at 24. They're in a good spot with Daniel Calhoun. They're in a good spot with Cam Pringle. I think those two guys are the top two tackles in the class at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. So, when you give Searles a full cycle to really build these relationships with these guys and everything, we'll see how the 24 class shakes out. But the 23 class, it's like we talked about this before. There's a best case scenario where Georgia keeps Bo Hewley and lands Monroe Freeling, and then a guy we think is underrated in KJ Smith, or Georgia misses on Freeling, Bo Hewley flips to Auburn, and then all of a sudden you lose two of those guys. You're down to KJ Smith and Joshua Miller. So it's going to be interesting. Freeling is kind of the swing guy, I guess, in this kind of class. No one really knows when he's going to commit or anything like that. He's a difficult guy to get on the phone. So we'll see on him. But Georgia, it's Georgia. There's Notre Dame. There's Michigan's involved. There's a few others. So they're going after him pretty hard, and just we'll see if they end up pulling him or not.
So if you're listening to the show, and call Jed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, number will be in the description of this video. So you guys...
G-Dawgs also has a wrestling question that we got to answer. I mean, we can't not answer it. It says, who gave the better promo, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes? It's a complex answer, okay? It's not easy, because when you talk about memorable promo, Dusty Rhodes is going to give those memorable promos, okay? Those ones that are seared into your brain that you could go back to and just they're awesome. But Ric Flair, when you talk about just turn a camera on and let him talk, Ric Flair can cut a promo better than anybody. By the way, a little promo for Ric Flair's last match at 73 years old coming up this next week. I didn't know that you could wrestle at 73 years old, but hey, Rick's doing it. So
I've heard his last match for the last 15 years. So
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. Hey, you gotta love wrestling, man. Gotta love it. We gotta go rapid fire on these last few. We got a bunch to hit here. If you were Dell McGee, what would you do for running back this cycle? Any new offers? So would you guys, if you don't get Haynes or Young, just real quick, would you offer another running back, or would you just kind of sit tight and go to the portal?
I mean, I wouldn't offer a guy just to offer him. I'll say that. I mean, you look at a guy like Wilcox or any of these other guys, you watch how their senior years look, what the film looks like, all that kind of stuff. You feel good about it, offer, but I definitely don't think they're gonna, just start throwing offers out there to, like we talked about a quarterback. They're not gonna go throw offers out to a guy just to say they're gonna take a running back. I think they're gonna be careful about it, be picky with their offers, and I think there will be new offers that go out, but they're not gonna throw any out just for kicks.
Yeah, I mean, the fast rapid fire, Jed. We got to tighten it up a little bit. We're going rapid fire here. I say if it was me, I would offer Jamarian Wilcox, but not take anybody else. Probably go to the portal to suffice. Trent, what would you do?
I honestly would go after Ruben Owens because I just like his game. I like the way he just from day one, from me watching his film, I just like his film. I think he's a guy who would fit well in Athens.
All right. So we got KSDJ 1869 with Yazid Haynes trending to the Dawgs here and on other sides. Do we take him and Evans since they're such similar players? Yes, pack as much speed as possible. Can answer that one. Would Georgia take 6 wide receivers their way? Guys, I don't know. I don't think Georgia's got room for 6 wide receivers. 4 seems more likely.
I think 4, they could take a 5th. But I think 4 is.
I don't know that 6 is a little stupid. Yeah, like you said.
And I think only that because the way the numbers have changed with what they can do this year. But I think 6 is pushing it. Absolutely. He'll have a defensive back. He'll take 12 defensive backs before he takes 6 wide receivers.
Absolutely. I think the Braves just scored too. So the Boy Racer 45, if you could, would you put in a flip future cast for Yazid Haynes to the Dawgs? 1, 2, 3. Yes, we would. All right. Any other commits elsewhere you would predict to the Dawgs? Nobody that I would just outright predict right now. But as those all start coming into focus later in this class, I believe. What's
that quarterback that Texas got a couple weeks ago?
I'm signing off.
Oh Lord, yeah, no more arch talk for sure. Ghost of Crowell says, "What is the best cereal and why is it Cinnamon Toast Crunch?" Okay, maybe my favorite question so far on here. It is a great cereal. I'm gonna go with peanut butter Captain Crunch. And here's the thing about peanut butter Captain Crunch: it's a balancing act. Okay, if you eat peanut butter Captain Crunch like right as the milk goes onto it, it can absolutely destroy your mouth. Okay. Or if you wait a little bit too long, it could be just absolute mush. But if you get it just right, there's nothing better than peanut butter Captain Crunch, in my opinion.
That was extended rapid fire there.
Yeah, well, yeah. At least I gave a long answer about football.
Hey, what do you think? Cinnamon Toast Crunch the best, or what? What are we saying?
I like Honey Nut Cheerios personally. That's mine.
Whoa, keep it original.
Yeah, man.
It's got to predict his heart health,
Fruit Loops, some Lucky Charms.
I do. Lucky Charms is good. I'm still a Cheerios guy though.
For sure. But I can rock with some Cinnamon Toast Crunch there, Ghosted Crowell. That's pretty good. All right, Golston Dog, any 24 running backs we need to keep an eye on early? Yeah, Jerick Gibson, and he says he's from Nahunta, which we found out at SEC Media Days is actually Stetson Bennett's hometown. So not Blackshear. But when it comes down to it, Jerick Gibson is one.
Cam Davis.
Cam Davis is one they're trying to flip.
Cam Davis, Michael Welch, Anthony Carey out of Carrollwood Day School in Tampa. Those 4, I think, are, there will be other guys that come up and whatever, but I think those are the 4 to really kind of hone in, at least on this point, this far out in the cycle.
Well, Stacey Gage is one that they're on, but Stacey Gage is one that I just have a feeling is going to end up elsewhere. That's just kind of where I'm feeling on that one right now. And then there's another one that they just offered recently. I think his name's Tawazi Mizell or something along those lines.
Mizell. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's his name?
Tovani.
Also
out of Florida, I believe.
Yeah, out of the Sunshine State for sure. So here we go. Big Dog says, are we still in a great spot to land Julian Sayin, or are our chances at landing Jaden Davis? If for whatever reason we miss, what are the chances of Jaden Davis? Jaden Davis appears that he's going to be in town this upcoming week. So Georgia's still talking to him. I've confirmed that Georgia's talking to him, talking to his family, still getting to know him. Julian saying they're in communication with him as well. Sources, tell UGA Sports. So it's really the balls, as Michael Scott said, our balls are in your court. It's what he said to him on The Office. So they get to decide who's going to be the first one to kind of hop into the class there.
Yeah, it looks like from what we hear or what we know, Sayin's going to be the first to commit. He's currently looking at the the late October, early November thing. I mean, I don't think it's like a done deal to Georgia or anything, but I think Georgia wants both. I think they will take whichever one jumps on board first. So right now that looks to be Sayin. Now if Sayin goes elsewhere, Alabama's in there, LSU, Michigan, they will obviously turn all their attention to Julian Sayin or to Jaden Davis, excuse me. But looks like Sayin's gonna be the first one to make the decision.
Yeah. Certainly his timeline seems to be the first right now. Trent, any concern with Lawson Lucky flipping right now?
I mean, he's visited Alabama a lot. I know I wouldn't say as of today. I think he's pretty. I mean, he's also a legacy, and I know a lot of people are saying, if he flips, the 2 legacies go elsewhere.
Honestly, he's friends with Justice Haynes, friends with Caleb Downs, from the Gwinnett area, that kind of stuff.
It would not surprise me to see him flip, just for the simple fact that Georgia's tight end room is so stacked right now that it's going to be tough for him to get on the field. Probably in the first 2 years, get a lot of playing time. But at the same time, I think he has a lot pulling him to Georgia. But it would not surprise me, and would Georgia be okay with it? Would Georgia be fine? At the end of the day, I think they would. But I know Georgia would like to keep him.
Yeah, and 2, Deuce Robinson is making an official visit to Georgia later on this year in the fall.
And they just hired a high school coach out in Vegas.
Yeah, so to be determined on that.
What's out in the West?
What happens there? But wanted to, before we sign off here, I wanted to look at some of these YouTube comments and see. We got a spammer again, putting some not so nice, some X-rated stuff in there. That's not good. A legend, a YouTube legend, the Uncle Lou show in here was, how many legit wide receivers do we have to miss out on before we start playing the best quarterback on the roster? So he's not a Stetson Bennett fan apparently, but I think Uncle Lou, what you're going to see more than anything, I think you're going to see Georgia not take the foot off the gas when they're up by 21 points, in the third quarter. I don't think they're going to just exclusively start running the ball. I think Georgia's going to – they may switch out some personnel, but I think they're going to keep slinging it a little bit.
I got a feeling that, in the fourth quarter they'll bring in Stetson's little brother and sling it all over the field. So you'll have to deal with Stetson Jr. as well.
Based off this comment by Uncle Lou and some of the other people, some people would go absolutely apoplectic if they put in for, just feel good story. They were to put in Stetson's little brother and let Stetson throw a pass to him. That could almost cause a break in the time space continuum over on the vault. I mean, so it's it could just go into a black hole of craziness over there. But some other guys on here, we see lots of people talking about our cereal choices here. Fred F talking about crunch berries. Harry Lake says cut some nanners, put them in Cheerios. So this is why you tune in to Rumors.
You do that, Jess?
Nanners? No, I'm out on nanners.
He's a strawberry guy. You got to put some strawberries on there.
Okay, I can rock with that.
Absolutely. We got Robert Cole in here. So appreciate all you guys tuning in. Make sure to do it each and every Monday night. We'll have, of course, tomorrow on the YouTube channel, you've got Coach Donnan, Roddy, Dane, all talking things on UGA Sports Live. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. We got hundreds of people in here. Please subscribe if you don't already. Greatly appreciated. And then turn on notifications. So appreciate everybody tuning in. For Jed May and Trent Smallwood, I am Blaine Gilmer, and we will catch you guys next week on UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts.